Welcome to the Photo Memoirs. My name is Don. I'm a photographer based in Seoul, South Korea, and this is the very first episode of the Photo Memoirs podcast. The Photo Memoirs is kind of my own personal photography journal, my photo journal of my own work out exploring and doing photography, documenting life in Seoul, South Korea, and other places on the peninsula. And we're going to talk a lot about all kinds of different topics related to photography, especially a street or documentary style photography. And even in my own work, I really have a love for high contrast black and white photography. So if that is your thing, you may really, really love this podcast and also the videos that we create. So today I was out in Seoul exploring, and we're doing a very brief overview, a first look at some of the raw images from my little trip, and we're gonna just go through them and see what we can talk about, see what we can kind of just brainstorm or think about, or what we can learn through the images that I have for you today. So I haven't edited these yet. I'm having my first look at them now. And basically, I was on a way to a little meeting, and I wanted to take the time uh, to, I wanted to make the time rather to do some photography. And a lot of people say that to me. They say, you know what, I don't really have time. I really want to get into photography. How do I get into photography? Well, you know what, I don't really have that much time. And what I would say is, you know, if you're really that serious about photography, you really want to get into it, you know, whatever you're trying to be professional photography or something like that in the future, then you have to make time for it. So one of the things that I usually try to do is uh, basically, I often do lots of photography. Last year I took about 37,000 photographs last year in 2022, and here in 2023 I've already took quite a bit. And in fact, I've been out almost every day. I made it a goal to take at least a few photographs every day, even if I'm very, very busy, even if I have only a little bit of time, making my goal to shoot every day. But I maybe over the last month, I've missed a few days. Uh, but I'm back into it. I'm going to make sure to stick with it and at least a little bit, even if I'm so busy, at least I'm going to try to get creative at least a few minutes every day and try to make an image or two that I can be happy with. So basically, my advice for you is if you're, you know, very busy, but you really are passionate about photography, you really want to do it, then you have to make time for it, right? So even if you're using only 5 or 10 minutes when you have a break, use that time. Just bring your camera with you and then go ahead and, create some wonderful photographs. And even if you don't get something that you're really, really proud of, even if you don't get something that's, super amazing, at least you were out and at least you attempted to get creative. At least you tried to create some type of image. And I think just getting creative at least a little bit every day is going to be really good for you in the long run of being a photographer. So one thing that I really like to do is I like to, if I have to go somewhere, I have to have a meeting, or I have to meet up with somebody, I have to go to work or whatever. What I like to do, I don't always do it, but I like to try, is I'll leave early for those appointments. I'll leave early for my work. I'll give myself an extra 30 minutes, or I'll give myself an extra hour. And that I know that while I'm going there, I can, kind of detour and I can use that 30 minutes or hour or whatever I've given myself to spend time doing some photography in that area. And then I can go to my appointment. So I recommend doing that for you if you have to go to school, if you have to go to work, and you really, really want to do some photography, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, spend the extra time. Just give yourself that extra bit of time. Leave a little early. Bring your camera with you in a little camera bag, and try to create for those a few minutes every day. I think that will be very beneficial for you, and just it just makes sense if you want to pursue photography and you want to do it, you want to get creative a little bit every day. That's something that you can definitely try. So that's what I did today. I gave myself probably an hour and a half or 2 hours, maybe 2 hours. I was out walking around before I had my appointment. So these are some of the photos that I did. And now, if you're on just YouTube music or just on the audio and you're just listening, no problem. You can just listen. I'll try to detail some of the stories as best as I can. But if you'd like to actually see the photographs, you can do that. You can find the video form on my YouTube channel or on my website. So you can go there and check it out as well. So basically, yeah, I'm out walking around. And one of these new projects that I have is, I like documenting basically this old part of Seoul, and I notice the more that I do it, of course, you notice a lot more. Basically, this is an old rusting vending machine, and I love, the glass there. You can see me actually in the photograph because you can get the reflection of the glass there. But it's an old vending machine here. It's rusted and it's out of order, but you can see it's still there's surprises inside. It's kind of, you can press a button and then if you knock the prize off the what do you call the shelf there, then you win the prize basically, and you can pay like $1 to give it a shot or something. And then you just move the joystick, and then it's supposed to poke these little gifts that are on these shelves. But you can see it's pretty much abandoned and it's worn down. There's garbage all over the top of it. And it's just very different from what a lot of the world might see about Korea. You imagine there's K-pop and dramas and, this booming economy with all these high-tech companies like Samsung and LG and all this stuff. And the country's doing great economically, I guess, with those type of things. But when you really take a look at these old cities, these old towns, these old parts of the city, you get to see, that this was a country that just they call it the miracle of the Han, where everything just kind of suddenly advanced very, very fast over 50 years since the Korean War. But before that, you know, uh, Korea was a very poor country, and you can still see that there's these buildings that are from these 30, 40, 50 years old, and it's still there. It's not at the main streets and with all the shiny buildings, but if you just go behind in back alleys, you can see that part of Seoul. Unfortunately, it's kind of sad actually. It's really really interesting to go and discover those scenes in Seoul, and so that's kind of the basis of my project. That a lot of these kind of old neighborhoods, that the real old culture, the old history flavor of these towns, it's kind of disappearing because they're getting destroyed one after another, and they're being replaced by shiny buildings. But these shiny buildings and apartments complexes, they all look the same. They're really really boring. They have no like real cultural life to them. They're just it's kind of an eyesore. I mean, they don't look bad, but they all just look the same. There's nothing really super interesting about them at all. Compared to, yeah, there's a tree there that, whatever, flowers are blooming, so take a shot. These old kind of buildings with all the shapes and things that are falling apart and rusting. It's just kind of interesting to kind of see, kind of. you and these kind of things are disappearing over the years in certain places around Seoul, just being replaced by those newer apartments and things. And basically, um, maybe 5, 10 years down the road, these photographs will kind of be kind of historical, kind of uh, capture um, that history a little bit. You know, I imagine a lot of these places will just be gone. And so that's something that I like to document, and you can see here. I'm just kind of playing around with different things, and I get in and take photographs of the details of different things. Some of these photographs will work really nicely. They'll go into my collection, which I will make a specific project on my website where I'll have a portfolio of this collection sometime in the future. I have not done it yet, but I have a lot of photographs that I've been working on, and I will add maybe some of the best ones to that, or maybe even make a photo book or something, because I think these scenes are going to be disappearing in the future, and it's just really interesting. It will be interesting in the future to kind of look back. So there's karaoke, an old karaoke room. Now it's kind of just abandoned, and this is the outside door, just taken from the street. So I'm just walking down these streets and these alleys with all of these buildings, and I'm just documenting anything that kind of catches my eye. And I think that if you're just walking around and not really paying attention, you're not going to really notice all of these things. But if you take your time and you observe, you're going to see these all over the place, and things are going to capture your attention. I like to say, observe all of your, look down, look in front of you, look to the side, look up. These are all things, just observe and try to think, okay, what do you want to document, what you want to take a photograph of, and just capture this kind of unique flavor of the area that you live in. And I think that can be very, very interesting. The thing is, for me, when I came to Korea, all these things are very, very interesting. Everything from the time I first see it, everything catches my eye. I'm very, very fascinated because it's very different from my home, right? Very different from where I grew up. And so, when in the place where I grew up, nothing caught my eye. I wasn't into photography. I didn't think, wow, this is so interesting. Like, I want to learn about this. And wow, this looks cool. I didn't really think that. But when it came to Korea, and then I started to explore and look around, then suddenly I got into photography, and then I loved photographing things and documenting, and got into street photography, and now I'm more towards urban photography slash street photography slash urban photography, if that kind of makes sense. I don't classify my photography as any of those specifically. It's kind of whatever I feel like. I like to just document the city and the life and the culture here. Uh, um, I'm working with a slow shutter speed for some of those photos that are a little bit blurry on the street there. Yeah, so uh, when I came to Korea, then I started to notice that's where I got into photography. And then, you know, I'm very interested. I can focus on all these little details. And I'm going to be going back to Canada soon, back to Toronto. And I really look forward to that. I really look forward to looking at things from the perspective of a photographer. But I also think those things didn't really interest me before, and the reason is because you see the things every day, and because of that, you don't really take notice of them anymore, right? They don't really catch your attention. You just don't. You're not looking. Basically, I think that's the case. You're not looking, and so even if you're at your home in your town, in your city, and you're thinking, well, like, what can I really take photographs of in my town? Like, is there something interesting there? There is. You just have to see it. So you have to kind of learn how to see. Uh, and you can also recognize that, hey, uh, especially if you go traveling, you'll soon realize that there's unique features of your town or your city or your country that nobody else in the world knows of. And so when you capture those images, yeah, maybe they're not going to be the most amazing to the people that are from that town, city, or country, but to the rest of the world, that can be very, very fascinating. You think about all these photographers in Japan, they're taking these amazing street photographs, of daily life, and it fascinates everybody. And everyone, wow, like I want to go to Japan and do street photography. Everybody that's gets into street photography, that's one of the things they want to do. They want to go to China. They want to go to Japan. Well, the photographs that they're seeing from there are not something that's impossible to photograph, but it's something unique to you because that's not something that you see every day. And I think the same thing. If you're taking photographs in your town, you can find the interesting things and you can get creative photographing them. And sometimes even something that originally seems, kind of just normal for you find the special details, get creative, make an interesting photograph, and then beyond what you even knew, it can be more interesting to other people around the world. We see here, so I'm walking in front of this kind of market here. And one thing that I really love to do is go to any type of traditional market here in Korea. That's something that's really, really interesting as well. So you got the alleys, like I mentioned, like back streets where you're seeing not that all new buildings, that's on the main streets, the fancy areas, but behind those big streets, that's where you see all these alleys and all this kind of worn down Korean old heritage type thing. That's one thing that I suggest photographing if you're in Korea. But the next thing is the traditional markets. They're every time I have a chance to go to traditional market, I'll notice something and I will go there and I'll try to photograph. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. I like that guy with the beard. Some of these are just throwaways. Okay. Sometimes I'll take these photographs as well. The middle-aged to elderly women that are selling vegetables and things on the side of the road. You're gonna sit down and they spread out all of these goods and sell them as the day passes, I guess. Yeah, and I'm just kind of observing. That's another project that I've kind of been doing lately is based on the advertisements. So I find the advertisements in the windows of different buildings, especially with actors or actresses, singers that are, on posters and stuff like that. So every time I see those, if I find them interesting, I'll take extra photographs, and I like it because it's not only it's not the same image as the advertisement, but rather, they're on windows, so you get all the reflections from the background, and then it's kind of all mixed together with the the model, the singer, the actor that's in the poster, the advertisement, plus the background or the surrounding, plus all the reflections on the glass, plus especially if there's lights in the background. I just like it, and of course, uh, get my reflection as well often times because I'm standing right in front of the glass. You know what I mean? So I just like it, and then of course these are just shot in color, but a lot of them will probably be in black and white with my style. right? Black and white, high contrast photograph. That's what I like the most. So when I finish the editing, these can also look very interesting. And this is another project which is very similar, which has like the glass for a lot of them, unless the clothes are outside. But just eye shopping, eye shopping is so it's when I see the clothing stores with interesting fashion, dresses, skirts, hats, shoes, purses, whatever. I'll also take the photograph. And if it's a storefront, of course, you get all the lights and reflections. You get the lights that are inside the store, and that's why some of my photographs are blurry because lately I'm shooting a lot with 1/60th of a second shutter speed, and the reason is I don't want to get um, any flickering in my images when I'm shooting these type of photographs with the inside of the store. And so if I hold my camera steady and take these photographs, I have no problem capturing, in focus without any motion blur. But sometimes if I don't adjust that and then I go to shooting people on the street, then I can make some mistakes there. Anyway, yeah, this kid kind of, I don't know what it's doing. Notices me, does its own thing with the model in the windmill. Yeah, street fashion. Yeah, it's kind of mixes kind of the two type of projects that I mentioned, right? With the singer there in the advertisement, plus the old soul, wearing down atmosphere. Yeah. So yes. Okay, this is what I did. So I've some of these storefronts had the windows inside, and then I shot this definitely 1/60th of a second. Yeah, there we go, 1/60th of a second. So I forgot to change my shutter speed back to a higher shutter speed. I just kept going, which is fine. It wasn't something that I was, you know, must take or anything like that. What is going on? Yeah, like that. Oh. Uh, one thing that I'm doing lately is I'm shooting mostly with 35 millimeter lens on my full frame camera. So, um, instead of getting, I still do it where I'll get close to people, but what I'm leaning towards more so lately is a more environmental photograph. Whereas I'm not right in their face. And I don't actually really like doing that anyway. But if I have a longer focal length, then I can get closer to them without physically being closer to them, kind of thing. But I don't even like doing that. I lately I really like to have more of the environment in the photograph. For me lately, that's what I like. So stepping back further and capturing more of the environment in the photograph, I find that more appealing lately, and so I'm trying to do that more. Yeah, and then yeah, cherry blossoms, cherry blossoms in Seoul right now. Yeah, and some of the other projects that I have include these type of wires and things like that. They're kind of haywire. They're all over the place in most of the areas here in Seoul. And so I have a different project, and then um, where I took a lot of photographs of kind of an upward angle, capturing the telephone lines, plus the buildings and the upper corners and stuff like that. And then since there's the cherry blossoms, I'm kind of incorporating the cherry blossoms plus that. So I have kind of like a cherry blossom version of the same project kind of thing. And yeah, I'm just kind of exploring around the town. And I see something interesting, photograph it. See, I love this. Yeah. So get the reflections, right? So kind of see me. I'm here, right? And then you get these girls. I don't know. It looks like maybe this girl in the background is taking a selfie, and then they're behind me, but they're reflecting off the glass. And then you got the lights that are also reflecting. They're not in the store. These ones are in the store. These ones are outside the store from the other side of the street. And they're kind of all working together to create something kind of interesting. I kind of like it. And then, yeah, you kind of get the idea, I think. Yeah. Kind of capture some of this. Oh, that's blurry. Some handshake there. Yeah, so capture that old soul. I like that one. Cool. These vending machines are all over the place. Of course, all these little advertisements are kind of stickers that these kind of strange companies kind of stick everywhere on telephone poles, on old buildings, on old vending machines, on all kinds of things. There's a Korean convenience store for anybody that's interested. Yeah, so kind of yeah, again, I'm just kind of exploring, checking different things out. It's fashion. There's another thing that I'm kind of interested in is the box collecting. Yeah, so if they collect enough boxes, then they can go and they can sell them just for a very low pay. But you can definitely admire their work ethic in this. Really, uh, you know, just incredible that how hard they're going to work for that. Get with the machines here. I have a machine day today. Okay. Again, different man there with the boxes. Again, I was stuck on slower shutter speed, so I'm gonna mess that one up again. And yeah, so maybe there's not. Sorry, that was the last one. So just hanging around town. So he's just kind of looking everywhere we go and then seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. The point is, you're out having fun. You're, something creative. Okay, so it looks like this is our last image here. So that is the end of this podcast, which was just kind of a first look at these images, and we're going to come back in the next episode. We have some more to discuss. And if you're here for the videos, we're going to be discussing those with a POV video, where I'm going to show you also some of the final edits of some of these images, especially the ones that I decided to keep. And then then I'll go into some more details about why I took those photographs and how I feel about the results. And of course, if you have any questions of your own, definitely go ahead, leave me a comment, share with me whatever questions that you have. And we're going to be talking a lot and answering some of your questions in upcoming episodes of this podcast. So definitely let me know. And also, you can submit some of your photographs for future episodes. If you have some photographs that you would like to have reviewed, even if you have like a series, no problem. If you have 10 or 15 photos, or even if you have 50 photographs from a series that you want some good feedback, some not overly critical, but constructive criticism on, then definitely get in touch with me and I can consider your work for one of our episodes. We can discuss some of the ideas that you have and discuss some of the photographs and how you can improve in your photography. So that's one of the things that I'm offering. If you would like to do that, just get in touch with me. Get in touch with me through Facebook or through email or through my website or through any of my social media. Uh, just go ahead, shoot me a message, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. That wraps up this episode, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.